Hey, and welcome to this walkthrough for Alt Grand, our brand new piano library and the sequel to Alt Piano, the one that started our journey almost 5 years ago. And this is the library you've been asking us for ever since we released Alt Piano all that time ago. And the reason it's taken us so long is just trying to find the right piano for the job, trying to find a grand piano that has loads of character and history behind it, but still plays well, still samples well, still records well. Once we found the piano, we had it shipped to Nave Studios, where we record the majority of our libraries, spent days with it recording it, and then had it shipped back to where it belongs. This thing has got loads of detail, multiple round robins, multiple velocity layers. We've recorded it with pedal up and pedal down samples. We've recorded it with felt and without felt, and there's a slider to mix between those like there is with Alt Piano. There's 5 separate microphone positions. There's 3 production ready mixes. There is over 20 texture layers, way more than Alt Piano's got. And then there's over 100 presets as well to get you started. If you're looking for the perfect grand piano, this might not be for you. If you're looking for a grand piano that has loads of character, loads of options to shape the tone and push the piano into new and exciting spaces, and you want a piano that can adapt to loads of different scenarios, this is what you're looking for. This is Alt Grand. Absolutely loads of character, full of life and energy, like a really big sounding piano, but still delicate where it needs to be. There's loads of dynamics in this piano, and it sounds absolutely unbelievable. It's such a nice piano to play. So that's the unfelted version, the natural sound of the piano. If we push this fader up all the way, then you get the fully felted version of this. Beautiful, really soft. The felting for this grand piano, if you've ever felted a grand piano, you know how hard it is, and we spent hours on this thing. We were felting each octave of the piano separately, deciding how much felt to put in there to get the gradation between all of the notes perfect. Often when you felt a grand piano at the top, it starts to sound really dead and just lifeless, and there's no sustain to the top notes, whatever, and then when you get to the bottom, there's too much. So we spent ages just getting it right. Sort of feels really natural to play throughout the whole range. Or what you can do is just move that felt fader around to just dial in as much felt as you want. So if we just take a little bit out of it, so you've got some of the natural piano sound in, that's where I quite like to live. So you're getting a little bit more of the bite and the attack of the front of the note, but still sounding like a really soft piano. And then the other way potentially is to have, you know, just a tiny bit of the felt in, just to take a tiny bit of that front end attack off. As you can hear, you can really fine tune just exactly how much of that felt that you want into the piano. So on the effects page is where you can really start to push the tone of the piano and the shape of the sound. Up the top here, you've got piano sounds for the keys, the mechanical sound of the keys. As well as the string and the pedal noise as well. I know a lot of you don't really like those sounds, so you can just completely get rid of them altogether if you want, but I think just putting them where we've got them in the default position just adds that real sense of realism to the piano. Then you've got piano lid open and closed. We've recorded the piano with the lid open, so you get all those natural rich harmonics and overtones in the piano. But with it closed, you'll hear what it sounds like with the lid down. Which is really useful just to be able to knock that sort of like those top end harmonics and overtones out, especially in a mix where you might have vocals or something and you just need to shift the piano really quickly into that space. That's what that's really good for. Then onto our famed trans-pitch control, and this has been a real fan favourite since we developed this for alt piano right back at the beginning. And this is basically, if you don't know about this, this is pitch shifting samples down while transposing them back up at the same amount. And the effect of this is to get the samples to be warmer and darker and more moody. So with it off, there's no effect at all. Absolutely amazing. As you can hear, it's like stretching out those samples, making them moodier and darker and warmer. I live for this control. This is absolutely like, it's never turned off for me. This is just exactly what pianos feel like they should sound like in my music anyway. Around 2 and 4 is where you don't really hear much of effect, and I don't think you'd know it's there. And once you start to get to 6 and beyond, that's where it becomes more of like an effect kind of thing. You've got an untuned control at the top here as well. Piano is obviously tuned, and it is in tune, albeit with plenty of character still. It's not perfectly in tune, but it's in tune enough for this library. And then with this control here, you can just start to push it out. So you can hear like a really finely tuned control. It's quite easy just to dial in exactly what you want. And when we released Alt Piano, we had a horror film score composer, like scary soundtracks basically, and he lived for this. He was like, if you ever make another version of this piano, please include this control, because it really allows you to become sort of very affected and very used for great effect. That kind of stuff. Not my wheelhouse, but absolutely useful when you need it. But it's really easy to just get just a tiny amount of untunedness to the piano. And then onto this built-in tape machine, which is brand new for Alt Grand. And basically what we've done is kind of replicated what it feels like to go through tape. You've got all of these controls which are independent of each other. So wow first. Quite extreme at the top end, but if you just like a tiny bit of that, there's about the right place to do it. Tiny bit of flutter. We've pushed these controls to make it sort of maybe more than what's tasteful, but I think that's quite useful for some effects and things like that. But I think flutter sounds great here. Tiny bit of tape noise. Saturation. finally age, which kind of replicates the frequency spectrum of older tapes. Really cool just to have that built in and just dial in some really unique sounds. Absolutely unbelievable. Then across the bottom we've got our delay engine, which there's way more in here than I can go into, but you've got 5 different types of delay options. You've got all of these presets to choose from. There's absolutely loads in there, and you'll see in the presets the delay is a really good way of creating different atmospheres from the piano. So you'll hear some of those with some of the presets. The width control, if you wanted to take the piano to completely mono, you can do for that sort of more vintage old school sound. Really cool. And then all of our built-in reverbs as well, and new for alt grand as well. And I'm going to take you through the textures in a minute, but on the reverb you've got 2 different options: reverb for the piano and then reverb for the textures as well. So you can put different reverbs on the textures to what are on the piano. Super powerful. I'll show you that in a minute. Right, let's get back to the textures. So these textures, if you know them from alt piano, are basically where we take all of the raw recordings and we do all sorts to them. We put them through tape, guitar pedals, plugins, you name it, to come up with all these different textures. So you've got 11 on the front here and another 12 on this other page, loads of different options. And you've got this texture slider on the bottom here. This is mapped at the moment to one of my faders, but you can just control it with your mouse. And all this does is change the tone and the shape and the sound of the texture. And it does a different job on every single one of these textures. So it's kind of like really experimental to kind of dive into these and then see what that texture control does on every single one. Really cool. Let's choose some others as well. So here, what I can show you now is you've got 2 different reverb options. So this is the textures reverb down at the bottom here, and this is the reverb you've got for the piano. So you can choose a massive, great big reverb for the I mean, this is what I like to do. You just do whatever you want. But a massive reverb for the textures. And then you can add the piano back in just by holding shift on your keyboard and clicking any of these. You can combine any of these textures with a piano, do whatever you want. And now with a piano, let's go for a really small sort of like cozy reverb. And then on the textures, I've got this massive reverb. Loads to choose from. So you can hear this texture slider is really doing something different on every single one of these. Let's add a couple together now. so much option, so much possibility to really push the piano outside of what it's capable of. Loads of atmosphere, loads of just really interesting textures to play with. Haven't got time to go through all of them now, but there is loads of fun and just ways to combine all those. The other thing that you can do with these textures is there's ways to adjust the attack and the release of them, change the level of them independently, so without having to split them out across multiple tracks in Logic or whatever you're working in, you can kind of like do it all in the same box. The other thing you can do here is change the dynamic, how the dynamics are controlled, so that by default everything's controlled by velocity. If you change this here to mod wheel, then suddenly the textures you can control with your mod wheel, which is a really powerful way. And you can have some of them affected by velocity, others controlled by your mod wheel. Really adaptable, really versatile way of changing the piano. So that is it. That is Alt Grand. Like you can hear, there is absolutely tons of possibility with this thing. Tone shaping possibilities for days, a really versatile piano, loads of different options to get the sound that you want out of it, to affect the way the piano responds, to change the tone beyond what the piano would sound like naturally. So yeah, what we set out to do was create this really versatile piano instrument, which the default piano sound was still incredible, but you could push it into somewhere completely different, and that's what we've achieved. I'm really happy with it. Like I said at the beginning, this does feel like alt piano, sort of like all grown up with a bit more sophistication, a bit more culture, not quite as rough around the edges, but still loads of character and personality, and suitable for absolutely all sorts, from sort of like cinema filling scores all the way to sort of modern production, songwriting. This thing's going to be absolutely brilliant for you name it. It's probably one of the most versatile pianos out there. That's it from me. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.